Alright guys, so we're going to finish off with our other quadrilaterals that aren't as common. So remember, quadrilaterals have 4 sides to them, but there are other categories of shapes within the quadrilaterals. So before, we had quadrilaterals, okay? Then, in this circle, and then within, you can't even see that, that says quadrilaterals in that shining light. And then within the quadrilaterals, we had another circle that existed with the parallelograms. And then within the parallelograms, we had rectangles. And then within those, we had a square. Okay? So those all exist as quadrilaterals because they do have 4 sides. Now we have some other ones. I should have wrote the word kite down here. There we go. We have 3 other ones that aren't as common, and these 2 are going to have different areas. This one we're not going to worry so much about the area. This would be one that we would just break it up into other triangles probably that we would recognize. So, rhombus. Okay, rhombus is kind of like a square. It looks like a parallelogram. So it definitely fits within the parallelogram circle, but a rhombus has all equal sides. So all sides are equal or congruent. So if we were doing that must be, could be shape thing, and it said quadrilateral with all sides equal, it has to be a rhombus. The only thing that it could be would be a square, but we would need to have it known that there are 4 right angles. A rhombus doesn't have 4 right angles. The other thing that you should know, since it is a parallelogram, we know that opposite sides are parallel. So remember that diagonal 2 double thing, that means parallel. So opposite sides are parallel, and it would fit within this diagram. Okay, then we have our trapezoid. So a trapezoid, there are many types of trapezoids. If you look at this one, you can see, that's not really good trapezoid. Let's do it like this. We have this kind of trapezoid. Sometimes you'll see it drawn like this, and other times you'll see this one, which is probably the most common. So there are really 3 types of trapezoids, but this is the main one. And the only thing that is said about this trapezoid, I don't know if you can see that down there, but it's just 1 pair of parallel sides. Okay, so if it was that must be, could be game again, and it says quadrilateral with 1 pair of parallel sides, it has to be a trapezoid. Obviously, it could be a parallelogram, a rectangle, or a square, but we need more than that, right? If it was a parallelogram, we need to know opposite sides are congruent. Rectangle, square, so on. So a trapezoid just has 1 pair of parallel sides. This one right here, notice that it has a right angle, and it still has that 1 pair of parallel sides. So we know it's definitely a trapezoid, but it's known as a right trapezoid because it does have a right angle. This one here, it has the 1 pair of parallel sides. You know it's a trapezoid, but if it was marked that opposite sides right here, these 2 sides are congruent, this would be an isosceles trapezoid, right? It's kind of like that isosceles triangle. It has 2 sides that are congruent. So that means isosceles, and this is a trapezoid. But right now we just really need to know trapezoid. Okay, kite. So kite looks like a kite. We all, grew up seeing those. So it's kind of like that diamond shape, but the top ones are a little shorter than the bottom ones. So we have it looking like this. Kind of looks like a bug or something. The way we have said it before is that, I guess we said adjacent sides are congruent. Meaning these two sides are next to each other, they're congruent. These two sides are next to each other, they are congruent. So that has that adjacent word that they are congruent. And I believe they also have opposite angles are congruent, but I'm not really that concerned about that right now. If you want to write it in there, you can, but I'm not going to write it. Okay, so notice that a trapezoid and a kite doesn't fit in with a parallelogram because parallelogram is opposite sides parallel and opposite sides congruent. That doesn't match, right? Kite doesn't have any parallel sides. Trapezoid only has the one parallel side. So really, kite, and I'm not. I'll write trapezoid. And trapezoid fit within the quadrilateral, but it doesn't go in the parallelogram, and we did that before. The rhombus just fits in with the parallelograms, but it's not necessarily a rectangle because it doesn't have four right angles. It's kind of, remember, it kind of looks like this because it has certain parts of a rectangle and a square, and when a rectangle and a square meet, they make a rhombus. So I don't know if you remember seeing that before, if you go back into your notes kind of at the end before all of this madness happened. Okay, the other thing we need to talk about are areas. So hopefully you notice, a rhombus just looks like a parallelogram. So that formula is just base times height. Now remember, it has slanted sides. So you need to look for either that dotted line with the right angle inside of it or dotted line with the right angle on the outside of it. So if it's asking you to draw where a height would be indicated, you could either draw it in the inside or the outside. Trapezoid has a different formula. It's going to be base 1 plus base 2 times the height divided by 2. So remember, B1, B2 doesn't matter what order you put them in because it's addition. So the bases are the ones that are going to be parallel to each other. I know a lot of times we try to think base means, it's sitting on it. Not always, okay? We don't always put our shapes on its feet, I guess. So bases are going to be indicated by the parallel sides. So right here, top and bottom are parallel. So those are the bases. Here, it's left and right are parallel, so those are the bases. So this would be one where it's not sitting on its bottom. It's not a base. Base here again, top and bottom. Height has to be indicated by a right angle. So for our right trapezoid, we're golden, right? This right here could be a height. On these other two, again, you're looking for either the dotted line with the right angle on the inside, or there can be a dotted line on the outside with the right angle. So area of rhombus, base times height. Area of trapezoid, B1 plus B2, the bases, doesn't matter the order, times height divided by 2. Kite, not really going to get into an area for that. There's not really a basic one for it. We would just try to break it up into, 2 triangles, find the area of those 2 triangles, and add them together. So those are the last of our quadrilaterals. We had our rhombus, which fits in with the parallelograms, but not really with rectangle and square. It's an overlap of the rectangle and square. Trapezoid and kite has nothing to do with parallelogram, rectangle, or square, but they are quadrilaterals because they do have 4 sides. So this should be the end of that polygon worksheet where you have all the characteristics. Oh man, something just fell out there. It's probably my cat. Submit that however you want. I guess the way I'm going to do it is probably just copy it, type in whatever. For the picture, I'm looking for you to copy and paste something in there, or if you decided to write it out on your own, just take a picture of it and submit it somehow. Hopefully that helps you. So now you should be able to go on to that other worksheet with finding the area of shapes, and then there's another one where I'm just asking you to classify the shape. Jeez, they're fighting. Based on the characteristics, what it would be the best name for that shape. So if you get caught up on those, go back through these videos. I've told you that could be or must be situation. That's what I'm looking for. Hopefully this helps, and we'll see you next week.